One of the most mind-blowing feats of human determination is about to occur, so I just feel the need to point it out. This is Lindsey Vonn. If you're not familiar with who Lindsey Vonn is, she once dated Tiger Woods. I feel like an asshole for making that the first thing I said because she's like a 47-time downhill skiing world champion. I'm not educated in the fact. One of the best downhill skiers of all time, certainly the best U.S. female downhill skier of all time. Somebody that gets a ton of press in the United States, just an absolute rocket on the slopes. She's tremendously good, but she's been retired for a while, and then she suddenly came out of retirement, won a world championship at the World Championships, and has now made a comeback to be at the Olympics at the age of 41. Okay, so she was not. I don't even know how long she was retired. She was, I think, at least one Olympic cycle she was out of the game, and now she just made a comeback. But she was beset by some particularly unfortunate news that she got in a crash. Where'd she get crashed in a World Cup downhill in Crans, Montana, Switzerland? Why is it called Crans, Montana, Switzerland on Friday, and ended up in the safety nets. Okay. Hold your horses there, sailor. Okay, Crans, Montana. She was in the safety nets after skiing to the bottom of the course. She was taken to the hospital. Vonn's expected to be one of the biggest stars of the Winter Games, right? So apparently last Friday, she's racing in some World Cup event in Montana and or Switzerland and crashes. Really gnarly crash, ends up in the net, goes to the hospital. She then comes back and announces at a press conference, this press conference right here, that she tore her ACL in that crash. Like, completely tore it. This is not a partial tear. Vonn said the damage to her left knee was a completely ruptured ACL, bone bruising, plus meniscal damage. Now, this is hilarious because this is basically the exact same injury I got when I was playing fraternity league basketball in college. I realize I'm not an elite world-class downhill skier, but I got a completely torn ACL, bone bruising, and damage to my meniscus. So there might not be a much better authority on the planet to tell you this is insane because she plans to race at the Olympics with this. Like, obviously, there isn't enough time to recover from an ACL. You need 6 months minimum. Right, meniscus damage is real tricky because at least the way they had to do it up with me, all right, it was in a part of the meniscus that they believed could heal through blood flow. So instead of going in and just removing that bit of meniscus tissue because it wasn't going to heal, they tried to sew it back together, which I believe the doctor described to me as like trying to sew a pillow, like sew, like why can't I think of the word? Like the stuffing inside of a pillow. Right, it's like trying to sew that together. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do, but they pulled it off. And then because the meniscus is essentially this, the stuffing in a pillow that is between the two bones in your knee, you then can't put any pressure on your leg for me, it was 6 weeks to let my meniscus heal. Now, if it was just an ACL, which very rarely when you tear your ACL is it just that, right? Because it ruptures with such violence that it basically just whips around like a garden hose that nobody's holding on to and just hits other shit, which is how her meniscus got injured, how my meniscus got injured, it's where the bone bruising comes from. Like, it whips, this isn't one of those nice soft things like one of those car dealership guys. This is some real serious business, like an elastic band that just snaps, and then it whips everywhere. But if you did just tear your ACL and it snapped in the right direction to not hurt anything else, you would be able to walk on it pretty quick. And something that is worth mentioning, there are really famous athletes that have played without ACLs. And as you probably imagine, like this, if a caveman blew out his ACL, your life didn't end, right? Your leg eventually finds a way to stabilize, is the way that it's been described to me. For example, after I tore my ACL, the doctor sat me down and went, "Do you want to have the surgery?" And I thought that was really fascinating. Like, I thought the phrasing was really fascinating because I just assumed, as somebody that consumed sports all my life up to the age of 20 when I tore it, that, you tear your ACL, you get the surgery so you can get back to doing things. But they actually ask you, do you want to fix it? Right? They probably don't ask people like Lindsey Vonn that because obviously they're competing in a world-class sport. But, you can get around in a normal way without that ACL. And I guess that's what Lindsey Vonn is basically going to try to do here. For example, I went to the University of Virginia. Okay, I was part of the guide service. I gave tours of the school. And 3 days after I tore my ACL, I had to wait a couple weeks for the surgery. I gave a tour. I walked around the entire school, led prospective students around, cracked a few jokes, had a good time. You know, I was able to do that. I wasn't wind sprinting. And I'll tell you what I wasn't doing, changing direction. Because if you're thinking that at this point in this monologue, in this video, that you're going, oh, maybe it's not that crazy that she's doing it, it is. Because you know what happened on that tour? The first tour I gave, I ended up giving a couple without an ACL, which everybody found really fascinating. I tripped. My left foot, which was my left knee that I'd hurt, got caught on a brick, you know, because the bricks are a little uneven, very old walkways of the school. I felt the bottom half of my leg do that. Like, this is the top half, this is the bottom half. I felt it go like that because my foot got caught on the brick and it, you know, the rest of my body kept going and the ACL wasn't there to hold it in place. So I just felt it do that, you know, because the other ligaments in the skin eventually like pulls it back in there, but it wasn't anchored in place. And it is a weird feeling. I remember getting out of bed in the morning because there's a couple weeks where you just don't have an ACL, right? I remember getting out of bed in the morning and you forget, you know, you're in that little morning haze. Oh, you know, I got to go to class today. And I would swing my legs out of bed, you know, just the classic, like, whoa. And when I swung my legs out of bed, like imagine this is my knee. This is my knee. Right leg, left leg. Like I would swing my legs out of bed and I would see, not, you know, my leg is straight. Like it is straight. I would see the bottom half of my leg lag. Because there is no side, like the ACL controls that side to side. It just keeps them anchored in, you know, aligned with each other. That's how you tear it. Is you do something that causes such unbelievable strain between the bottom and top half of your leg that the damn thing pops. At least that's the most common way you tear it. That's how I did. I would see it lag when I got out of bed. I remember I was playing beer pong. I was in college. I hit a winning shot and I jumped. And when I was like, yeah, and I jumped up and you kind of like kick your leg off to the side like this, you know, like that. And it kept going. I remember feeling like stick drift, like the bottom half of my leg kept going. And then I had to like land it on my other leg to make sure that I didn't bust my ass. So even though you can move around and it's not super painful, a lot easier than most people would think without an ACL, there's like a very noticeable weirdness to your knee. It's like jelly. The bottom half of your leg's just floating all over the place. And those famous athletes that were able to push through that gave their body time for the muscles to kind of restructure and everything for it to be stable. That doesn't happen overnight. I am obviously not some sort of doctor, but there are, you know, people that have played in the NFL that didn't have 2 ACLs. Right, that one of them got blown, but you know, before the technology, or just they were young and they didn't know what was going on, or they didn't know they tore their ACL, and over time, your body adapts, and your leg stabilizes, and you establish some sort of new normal, and you know you're able to cut effectively without an ACL. Then you're able to move effectively, and you just get used to it. Well, Lindsey Vonn is now going to try. She's going to try to ski in the Olympics without an ACL, like a week after tearing it. And I can't imagine something that is harder on your knees than skiing. I can't. I mean, it is an unbelievable amount of stress on your knees. I know, because I skied fairly regularly in my life. And ever since I tore my ACL, my knee is sore as hell every time I ski because of the amount of strain that it puts. Now, obviously, if you're a world-class skier, your lines are probably a little crisper. Your legs aren't, the bottom half of your legs probably aren't wiggling back and forth as much as they are for me, the Floridian in the group. But my goodness, it's a piece of wood strapped to your foot that's bouncing around on top of snow. And anytime it takes your foot off in any direction, you don't have an ACL to tell it to stop. Now, she says that she's going to wear a knee brace, but I'm just telling, like, the whole point of this video, really, is to make you aware of the fact, because I need more, like, I need as many people as possible to be watching this too, because either she's going to pull it off and it's going to be this unbelievable feat of humanity, because she's going to wear this knee brace and try and win the downhill. Like, her technique is going to have to be so clean. Her upper leg strength, her lower leg strength is going to have to be so unbelievable that without an ACL and with just a knee brace, she's going to try and keep everything lined up and not just fall to pieces. Just so she can get through this Olympics at 41 years of age. She's already won the gold, by the way. She's doing this for the love of the game. Right? This isn't like she's coming back because she never won the big one. She has it. She's just here because she fucking wants to do it. And I respect the hell out of that. Woe to anybody that apparently tries to get in her way, including Mother Nature. But this is going to be an unbelievable spectacle. And I can't believe she's actually going to try to do it. I would be surprised if she got through all of her runs, but I will be rooting for her to do so. I think it would be unbelievable if she did. But yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff here.